Hello and welcome back to Lorebringer, and what we're going to do in this episode is basically just outline what we're going to plan for the future, for the series, obviously, and we're also going to be partaking in one of the largest battles that, well, I've ever done in, probably in episode 4, right? So yeah, this is basically one versus many, and you can see here that my army has 136 and the enemy has 425. Now, going forward, here's the thing. I have realized, or generally a lot of people have, it's a very polarizing series, let's just say that. It's a polarizing series where, on the one hand, a load of people very much enjoy the theme and the way that things are progressing within the game. Myself included, I actually find this very fun to watch. I personally feel like my units are looking real nice and everything, and obviously we can change those up anytime we want. So if we want to have, you know, for example, a two-handed poleaxe for the For Honor people that are fans of that game, then obviously we could do that. But otherwise, on the other hand, there are people that find this very, very drab and a little bit static, stagnant, whatever you want to call it, because obviously we are quite powerful at the moment, but that was not the point. I mean, obviously the point was to make the most defensive unit possible, and that's kind of what I've done, and as a result, it has kind of made things a little bit difficult to make intense. And that's the reason why we're actually fighting against this army right now, because let's just say, you know, 136 units against the enemies, I don't even know how many they had, 430 or something, I really don't know. But whatever the case, if I achieve victory here, then it's going to be a small series, let's just say that. It's going to be a small series where I'm basically just going to try and eliminate every single vassal within the Khuzait, and then we're going to see what happens from there, because obviously I am thinking to myself at the moment, if I am able to achieve victory against the Khuzait in general, so in other words, if I'm able to execute every single one of their vassals, then I'm probably going to be taking over their entire territory in one fell swoop, because if I have control over some of their fiefs, or one of their fiefs more specifically, then as far as I'm aware, a number of people have told me in the comments that when you do this, you actually gain the entire territory of a particular faction that you have executed the vassals from. So if they are no longer around, you automatically get all of the territory from them. So that's kind of how that works, which is actually kind of amazing and pretty cool to me. I would like to be able to see that, to be honest. But yeah, so that's pretty much how it's going to go in the future here, and it looks as though that is indeed how it's going to go, because I have achieved victory by the looks of things here. I mean, you can quite clearly tell there doesn't seem to be too much of a problem for us to win this, and bear in mind that most of my units are not even high level. Most of my units are, well, the last 30 or so units that I've recruited are tier 1, tier 2. And for the stat lines, someone actually asked for me to show the stat lines. Well, I can just tell you, basically. Tier 1s have 40 to 50 in their skill points. So in other words, just one-handed and thrown weapons. They just literally have that, just one-handed and thrown weapons. And then tier 2s have 75, 100, 125, 150, and so on and so forth. And the noble units obviously have more than that, where they, I think, start with about 175, maybe 200, and then it goes on to tier 4s, where they have about 300 to 350 in one-handed and thrown. So that's kind of how I did the progression for my units, and generally I don't think that the stats are the main issue with how powerful they are. Yeah, I think it is most probably the fact that we are using my little warband, and it is making everything a lot easier for us. And I'm not saying that the mod is imbalanced or anything like that. I'm saying that generally it depends on how you use it. And obviously, for the main point, they just have really good gear. my units have very, very good gear. And someone had a really, really awesome suggestion, actually. And the suggestion was that tier 1 units use tier 1 armor, tier 2 units use tier 2 armor, and so on all the way up to tier 6. And the same thing with the noble units, but maybe a tier up or something like that. So tier 2 units would use tier 3, tier 3 units would use tier 4, and so on and so forth. So yeah, unfortunately that that might not work now. I'm actually not sure, because the last time that I changed gear for my units when I was using my little warband, I was consistently getting crashes. So I am in a bit of a quandary here where I'm thinking to myself, well, do I want to risk a crash at this point? Do I want to risk a crash? Because if I change their armor, because changing their weapons is actually fine, as we've already seen, but changing their armor has proven to be a bit more difficult for me specifically in the past. So I'm not sure how that's going to go, but whatever the case, we're going to now try to speedrun the elimination of the Khuzait, because that's what we're going to do, and then we're going to move on to the next series, because as I say, the series is very polarizing, and while I do very much appreciate those of you that have shown support for the series, it's probably just a good idea to try and just get it done, basically. Just get it done in the most entertaining ways that we can think of, and then just go on to the next theme, whatever that may be. But yeah, otherwise I am just going to be executing all of these people. Yes, I actually forgot to almost do that. So let's execute all of them. Thank you very much. And I have no idea how many more I need to kill to be able to, you know, get the Khuzait completely dead. But we'll try our best, I suppose. We'll try our best to be as quick as possible. I do just want one castle or one town. I don't really care what it is, whether it's a castle or a town, it doesn't really matter to me, but I would like to have one fief under my control before the Khuzait sustain their last execution, shall we say. Because once that happens, then we are going to gain all of their territory, or at the very least it should be. I mean, I don't really know how that works, because I haven't had that work for me in the past, because the last time that I attempted to do something like this was actually in the very first series of Bannerlord that I ever created. I know. Kind of surprising, right? Yeah, I was one of those. I was one of those people that was. I was a forerunner of progress in the name of clicking the execution button. Yes. I'm obviously kidding, because, you know, anyone can press the execution button. But the point is, yeah, generally I was doing that quite a long time ago and trying to see what would actually happen if we eliminated the entirety of the vassal population from the world. And unfortunately at that point, because the game had just come out into early access, it was still very buggy, and it still had a lot of compatibility problems with doing unexpected things. For example, executing everyone in the entirety of the world. And as a result of that, I then started to get into situations where I would try to execute the last remaining vassals, and the game would crash every single time I would execute one of the last vassals. And so it basically soft-locked me into a situation where I just could not progress, unfortunately. Yeah, I got shot from the archer on the right side there. My block was then interrupted, and then I died. Yep. That's how that happened, but yeah, my forces will no doubt be able to achieve a victory right there. Not too bad, and we did end up losing 9 units. I actually lost a lot more units than I would have expected from that previous fight, by the way. So I would say I'm not untouchable, but obviously because that army was very large, it kind of makes sense that we would have lost some... At least some people, you know what I mean? We are inevitably going to lose some people sometimes. Anyway, let's just go into the garrison here. I'm going to tell all of my judges to get locked in my party here. And then we are going to just put them back over there. There we go. Okay, that's fantastic. So, do I... Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. There's a dungeon. Hello, you are in the dungeon. Why are you in the dungeon? Come out here. I am going to execute you in just a second. Very nice indeed, yes. Let's do it. Alright, fantastic. Alright, so now we do have a garrison here, but once again, I'm gonna just do as much training as I possibly can, as much recruiting as I possibly can, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on and see if I can maybe bait out a couple of other vassals. Maybe we can get them to come over here. There's another one right here. Maybe we can actually catch up to this guy. Maybe we can try to do that. I'm not entirely sure. It seems like it. There we go. Not too bad. And, oh, actually, yeah, okay, fine. We'll do a fight here, we'll do a fight. Generally, I would like to go back into Stygian territory and see if I can maybe recruit some more units, but yeah, I don't know whether I'm going to have the time to do that if I'm trying to bait out the enemy into attacking my castle. Ah, thrown weapons, how I have missed you so much. Yes, indeed. Thrown weapons are so fun to use, they really are. If you don't get a headshot, they make the enemy's ragdoll effects go crazy, and you can make some really funny things happen, but unfortunately I'm not really hitting anyone at the moment, so it's kind of a little bit more diminished, shall we say, the effect than we otherwise would have gotten if I had been able to get a visual on them. But oh well, never mind, there you go. That was a victory and a half, wasn't it? But obviously this is indeed attempting to speedrun the whole thing, so we're just going to try and execute as many people as possible in as short a time as possible, so I suppose. That's pretty much what we're going to try to do now. So, yeah, we got some new armor. This armor is actually looking pretty nice, by the way. Look at that. It's tier 6 armor already. That's pretty cool. And we're just going to execute here. There we go. Execute there. There we are. Okay, fantastic. So, now what we're going to do... Well, I'm obviously going to go back to the castle here, and then I'm going to be recruiting some more units. Alright, I've returned from Stygian territory and recruiting as many people as I could find, and we have about 135 in, actually 138, as you can see at the top of the screen there. Oh yeah, fantastic. It's good to have that information, isn't it? Anyway, we are going to now be in a fight against one of the, actually the most powerful army that we've seen so far. They have a combat strength of near 900. And if we can achieve victory here, that is basically going to seal the deal. That will seal the deal 100%. I'm actually going to tell my forces to charge in, because I'm going to try and give myself the most, most disadvantage that I can possibly handle. And we're going to see how that goes. I'm not entirely sure how it will go, considering charging usually is, shall we say, not exactly recommended. But I will try my best. Let's try not to get ourselves murdered either. Well, it doesn't seem to be going too badly so far, but we have basically almost run through half or over half of our ammunition at the moment, and obviously that's pretty bad. But hopefully my forces will do okay in melee combat. We've seen them, I mean, we've seen them do pretty well in melee combat, haven't we? But it's very much a case of, are we too split? That's the point. That is the question we have to ask ourselves. Are we too split up to be able to make a good go of things here? You could see that each and every one of my forces is very split in their attention. They're attempting to defend against the cavalry, they're attempting to defend against the various infantry that are now making their way into our battle lines. And I have told my forces just to charge in, and hopefully they're going to do exactly that. But yeah, as I say, I think that generally what is currently giving us the overall advantage here, which you would never expect, right? But yeah, I think what is giving us the overall advantage is definitely the gear that I mistakenly thought, oh yes, most defense, it cannot equal offense. But obviously, in this case, I think that defense does, in fact, equal offense. And as a result, even if they have, you know, the best armor in the game, it doesn't actually then mean that they're going to be doing no damage. Oh yeah, that actually, oh yeah. So that was actually a thing that someone suggested as well. A couple of people suggested this, where I outfit my units in blacksmith hammers, or I give them, I don't know, villager axes or something along those lines. And yeah, that actually would be a pretty decent solution for their offense, but in many cases at that point, what am I supposed to do in a battle if I'm unable to win it? You know what I mean? For example, even if we have something like that, it's going to be a case of, well, can I even win it if we outnumber the opponent? Because we're going to be doing such little damage. I'm not sure if it's even going to be... Is it going to be possible? I don't know. That's the question, I guess. I don't know. But whatever the case, I think we're just going to go ahead with the speedrun idea that I had, and we're going to see how fast we can eliminate the Khuzait. Obviously, it's probably going to be this episode that will be done, because I'm going to be, you know, flitting around a little bit here and there, and I'm just going to show the most important battles. And hopefully we will be able to see the transfer of ownership from the Khuzait territory over to us. And that's going to be kind of fun to see. Or at least I hope it's going to be kind of fun. Anyway, that was indeed a victory for us. Almost 900 combat strength. Yeah, I think I might have inadvertently created one of the most powerful units that we have seen. And that... Well, that's... I gotta say, I'm actually kind of surprised. I mean, I wouldn't have expected to have units that have zero... I mean, they literally have 0 athletics. They really do have 0 athletics. I'm not... You know, I wouldn't be, you know, saying otherwise about that. You know, it's literally 0. And yeah, okay, well, we're going to be taking all of this, and we are going to need to go into a nearby town to sell all of that as well. Alright, so all my forces are cool, they're all fine, and we're just going to be executing these people. There we go. Fantastic. Okay, so unfortunately a couple of vassals did manage to escape. That guy managed to escape, that is Tulag. I would have very much have liked to... execute him, because he is one of the more major vassals from what I can remember, so it would have been nice to actually get him dead, but oh well, never mind. Okay, so apart from that, let's see what we can do here. I don't need any upgrades, so another 30,000, another 36,000 in actual fact from Tile, and I've already recruited people from here. Okay, so let's go back over to the village. And I'm going to do the luring strategy once again, and we're going to see if we can maybe get some vassals out of the woodwork. Alright, so I was besieging Kaysar Castle, and now we are in a battle. Now, this battle is surely going to be perfectly fine, because, well, they only have 300 combat strength or something like that, so I'm basically just going to speed through this, try and get a little bit of combat strength here and there by, you know, hitting some people over the head with my bonking mace. Yes, let us bonk them on the head. There we go. Ah, that actually did not work as intended. Ah, well, never mind. I mean, it's not like it's really necessary for me to do anything, right? Anyway, apart from that, I did spend my perk points as well. Every single perk that I spent has been placed into some kind of survival trait. In other words, there was a trait that I got in the athletics tree, very surprisingly enough. But the athletics tree was at 25, and I have now, well, not increased, but I have now gotten the first perk there, which is providing 5 HP to my own forces, and I think 5 HP to me as well, so that's actually quite nice. I mean, you can see it, where is it? There it is. And yes, increase your maximum HP by 5, and foot troops in your party gain 5 HP as well. I also spec'd into one-handed as well, so you can see here we gain more experience after each battle, and we also start battles with more morale. And then I also took the thing that reduces the amount of damage that our shields take. I put a point into engineering and my last final point into charm, and then I put 2 attribute points into not charm, into social as well. And so that's basically yeah, that's pretty much all I did. And yeah, so this is where I am, and I'm basically hoping that enemies are going to be coming over to us relatively soon. And let's just execute these guys. There we go. And I'm actually thinking, shall I try and... Oh, they came out! Oh, so interesting. Okay, I wouldn't have expected this in a million years. And you know what's really, really funny about this as well? If I were to auto-resolve this fight, how do you think that's going to go? It's probably going to go in the enemy's favor, because the combat strength says so. The combat strength says they're going to win. And that's that kind of begs the question, well, do we want to listen to combat strength in the future? Because it feels to me like combat strength is very much just a guide at this point. Because if you think about combat strength as a surefire rule about whether you think you should fight this guy or not, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a good idea to take note of it, because if there's a, I don't know, an army with 2,500 combat strength or something, then you can be sure that those guys have some pretty good units. However, in this situation, you really have to have, or at least, you know, someone, whoever is in command of these units, has to have a little bit more confidence in their own unit's abilities and skills and gear, in fact, as well. Because in the grand scheme of things, I would never have imagined, I was literally taking these fights earlier in this episode. I was taking these fights just purely for the fact that I was just testing things out. I was seeing whether we could actually achieve victory, because I thought to myself, no way. There's no way we're going to be able to defeat an army with 900 combat strength almost. But yet we were able to, amazingly enough. Really would not have expected that. But we were, so pretty crazy. Anyway, yeah, we're just going to continue executions as much as we possibly can. And I think I'm probably going to head back over to Tile, because what I would like to do... Oh, hello! Ooh! Now this is going to be interesting. Okay, hello there. Monchug himself, fresh off a battle with someone else. I don't know who he was fighting, but he was fighting someone. And you can see here he has literal very high tier units. He has 58 heavy lancers. He has 43 dark khans. He has 38 heavy horse archers, and so on and so forth. He was actually just fighting the Sturgians, by the looks of things. So this is going to be very interesting. Can we win in a battle against a person that literally has almost 1,200 combat strength? And I only have 263. Do you think we can win it? Let's try and see what happens. Now, obviously, if I am defeated here, then that will also mark the end of the series, because otherwise it's just basically me doing a bunch of off-screen progression, trying to get my units back on their feet and everything. But yeah, I'm very intrigued. I'd like to see if we can achieve victory here. Hello there, people. I will try to do battle with my thrown weapons. I will try to throw them very accurately, and it seems like it's actually working quite nicely so far. I am hitting a bunch of horses though, which is really not what I wanted. Yes. Sometimes my thrown weapon proficiency, or shall we say my own personal skill with thrown weapons, leaves a lot to be desired. But, you know, it happens. Sometimes there's going to be something that happens and you just can't help it, unfortunately. Well, never mind. Okay, so now this is going to be a bit of a problem here. See, now, this is the main reason why the Khuzait are difficult to deal with, because now we have a situation where it's basically their cavalry against a small contingent of our infantry, and then their infantry is also bearing down on us at the same time. So it's a very difficult situation to be in. But I'm going to leave them on charge right now. They are still going to be charging straight on in, and we're going to see whether we can do something about it. So let's see what happens here. Some of my forces have been eliminated. Bear that in mind. But does it matter? That's the question. Does it matter? Are we going to achieve victory nevertheless? I don't know. I'm being shot from all sides at the moment. Kind of a bit worried. My forces are scattered. Not a big fan of that. I'm not sure whether I should just let them continue charging or whether I should actually command them at this point. Because at this point, it's 1200 combat strength enemies. We might have a situation on our hands where defeat is possible. Or I could just take a look at the ratios and have a look. It's looking very much in their favor right now, but obviously it would. They have some very good units. Okay, I'm going to actually command them a little bit here. I'm going to tell them to consolidate their position very quickly. Please do not kill me. I would very much appreciate not dying right now, not while I am attempting to command my forces just a little bit. Because it seems like, to me, we might actually need to. Okay, now we're going to tell them to charge once again. Hopefully that is going to be enough. And if I do get eliminated, the auto-delegate is going to take over, and you know how I feel about the auto-delegate. I really do not like it one bit, but if it happens to take over and it happens to win, then I will take it all back. Will I? Will I? Not sure. Not sure about that. Okay, so yeah, this does not look good to me. Personally, I feel like this looks like a defeat on my part. Or does it, actually? We've only lost about 15 units since the speed up. Okay. I don't know. I mean, right now it looks pretty good for us, but it also looks like they just have way too many units for us to deal with. That's also the thing that you have to bear in mind, you know. These kinds of situations. But of course, I am pushing it right now. I am very much pushing the limit of what my army can handle. Because in the last couple of fights we've had, I have pretty easily been able to achieve victory with minimal casualties. But I think in this situation, I think the amount of units that they have is just way too many for us to deal with. That's probably what's going on here. There we go. Okay, so the enemy has now taken me out, and they only have... Oh! They're gonna lose, I think. I think they're going to lose. If they're up against 52 of my units, it's highly likely they will lose 100 units, unless they are all like, I don't know, heavy horse archers or something like that. And in which case, heavy horse archers are going to be very, very difficult for my forces to catch up to. But these are the kinds of battles I actually wanted to get in much earlier in the series. But obviously, my cautious parts of my brain were basically like, oh yes, please don't do that, because that's probably going to end in a rather embarrassing defeat. But look at this. Look at how it's coming down right to the wire here. I'm going to speed it up just a little bit, and it seems as though, yes, indeed, we are going to achieve victory. While it was a very close one, it was definitely a victory, and that is pretty much all you need to... I mean, that's it. That's basically all that matters, right? That is all that matters. Do you win or do you lose? That is the big thing that you're always going to have to take note of. If you don't take note of that, then I mean, obviously, what's the point, right? Yeah. Anyway, there we are. That is indeed that, and we just need to get that horse archer just running all over the battlefield, and you can see my forces play the Benny Hill theme. Play the Benny Hill theme right now. I would if it wasn't copyrighted. There we go. Fantastic. They finally took him down. Okay. That was really nice. And yeah, there you go. So we did end up actually eliminating his entire army. And we are now going to be able to take every single one of these guys prisoner, which is exactly what we wanted to do. So let's do that. Did I just see Gusu Khan right there, by the way? I thought we... I thought I executed Gusu Khan beforehand. That is a bit weird. Okay. Party screen enhancements is apparently having some problems here. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that. Okay, I have no idea. Yes, I'm not very good at diagnosing all those mod errors or whatever, but yes. Anyway, I was able to rescue a huge amount of troops, which is actually super nice, or it would be super nice if I could actually make good use of them, but unfortunately I don't think I'm going to be able to. And we are going to be able to now move on. I did leave a little bit of loot behind, because otherwise I just have too much in my inventory as it is, so it's going to be very difficult for me to move right now. Okay, so we're just going to let those guys get upgraded. 53 troops have deserted. Hopefully they're not my own troops. That would be very bad. Were they my own troops? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, so this is basically the maximum that we can currently field. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to literally get out into my party screen right here and then just let them go. That is pretty much all I'm going to do. And now what we can do is execute every single one. Khuzait, I'm pretty sure I executed him before, but for some reason he's still alive here. I don't really know what's going on with that, but there you go. We are now starting to execute and eliminate clans, as you can see from the little... Yep, there you go. Yes, fantastic. Okay, yeah. So from the little notification, we have now found that a couple of clans have now been eliminated, which is actually super nice. So let's go over to Tile now, and yeah, that's what I was talking about. Those are the kinds of battles, the ones that come right down to the wire, and obviously it seems to me like, even though we were still able to achieve victory, yeah, we are quite clearly way too strong, or it feels like we are probably way too strong. So yes, anyway, let's just upgrade ourselves right here, and I will be selling all of this. There we go. There's another 82,000 for us right there as well. And okay, now what we want to do is we want to check out the clans. I will be taking a look at the clans in just a second. Actually, should I just check it out now? Because I was actually wanting to recruit a bunch of units before I did that, but... yeah, you know what? Let's just check out the clans now. So, Kingdoms, Khuzait, and let's take a look. Okay, so there's literally one... yeah, that's Tulag, as you can see right there. Yeah, so Tulag is the only one alive there. Hurunag and Suran are the only ones alive there. Akrum, I'm not sure whether she has combat skills. She does not. She's only 16, so obviously she doesn't have combat skills. Ulman, so there are 2 available here as well. There's 1 available here. Yeah, so there's basically a handful, just a mere handful of enemy vassals still eligible to fight within the Khuzait. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing again, where we are just going to post up right outside one of the major centers. I'm thinking we'll probably go to Tepesh Castle, a nice old favorite of ours, and I will literally just besiege this straight away. And we're going to see if we can get some vassals to turn up here. And in the meantime, I might be able to get a little bit of... ah, hello there! Ah, he's actually going straight on in. Okay, fantastic. So, yeah, this is obviously a very, very important siege for us to win. Unwavering defense is, of course, the perk we're going to be taking from the one-handed tree. That increases our HP a little bit more. And we're also going to be taking best medicine, because high morale increases our healing rate. That sounds like a good plan to me. And otherwise, let's now move in to this particular fight. Okay, so bear in mind, I did lose a lot of high-tier units in that previous fight. And I'm not sure whether we're going to have the capability to be able to win this now. Obviously, this is very much a case of, well, I mean, did we have the capability to win the other one? Well, yes, but it was a bit unknown at that point. And it's kind of still a bit similar. So let's see whether we can do something here. Maybe I can get a couple of kills, maybe level up my thrown weapon proficiency. I'd still like to get to the point where we can penetrate shields, but I am consistently now reminded that that basically means nothing, because the Khuzait doesn't actually really have that many shields that they use. I mean, they do use shields sometimes, but most of the time they are not, so it really doesn't make that much sense for me to aim for that. But it's definitely one of my favorite perks, and as you can see, we have completely stomped. I mean, you know, that is yeah, that is what we have come to expect from the judges, indeed. And there you go. We ended up losing 2 units. Really? Okay. Well, I suppose most of my forces are tier 6 now, so it kind of makes sense, right? Anyway, we're going to be taking all of them prisoner. Wait a minute, one of them escaped? I think one of them actually escaped. Oh, well, that's not very good, is it? No, that is not good at all. Okay, so let's not continue the siege, because I am going to need to execute them, and I don't know whether I can do that while besieging. I don't think I can. There we go. There's one of the other clans destroyed, and there we have it. Okay, so we're going to go very quickly over to... seems like Amprila is the closest to us at the moment. I need to get rid of a lot of the loot that I have in my inventory at the moment. I think I have too much food, or something like that. But otherwise, after that... we'll be heading back into Khuzait territory to eliminate the last couple of vassals. Alright, so it looks as though we have our, well, I think probably our last vassals that the Khuzait have to offer to the fight. And they are, well, quite clearly out of their depth here. I mean, to be honest, they very much are. I mean, they came to us with just 2 vassals, and they had very, very low tier units, as you can see right here. They basically only had footmen and some nomads and all that wonderful stuff. So yeah, very, very weak in comparison to what we, what would be required, shall we say, to achieve a victory against us. And I have also cleared up my inventory as well. I had over 700 units of grain, so that was obviously the reason for that. Anyway, let's execute these. There we go. Oh, we still... really? We still haven't done it? Okay. Kind of interesting. Alright. Well, let's see. Where are the remaining lords? Now, there's one, but I believe that... ah, there we go, there we go. There's one. And... oh, he's running away. Where are you going? Come back here. Oh, there's Akram. I would like to fight you, sir. I will help you... no, I will not help you, actually. I was helping him in a battle against bandits. Yeah, that's definitely what I'm gonna do, right? Okay, let me... yep, gotta be real fast to get into a battle with this guy, because otherwise he's going to be super quick and way too fast for us to even catch. So, let me see what I can do here. Obviously, once again, super fast mode, followed by fire arrows to the face, followed by thrown weapons all over the place, and we will now... oh wow, be charging straight into them. This is very audacious. Okay, look at that. I mean, I guess we kind of can do that, but yeah, that's been something that I haven't been able to do since Pendor or something like that. When you have, you know, fully leveled custom knighthood order or something like that. That's literally been that long since I've been able to charge straight on into the enemy's reinforcement zone. I think, maybe. At least when I felt that confident about doing that, to be honest. Because whenever you have a custom knighthood order, obviously it's probably better to stay back, because then you maintain the populace of your knights, of your wonderful, wonderful knights that are just so incredibly powerful that you really feel the pain whenever one of them die. So, yeah, obviously there's that. Anyway, let's move on here. Don't really care about the loot too much. Execute him. There we go. There's another clan that's been eliminated. And where is that last vassal? You know what? Let's go and besiege. Oh, is that him? No, that's part of the one of the random minor factions. This is another minor faction person right here as well. I'm a little bit worried about actually besieging a town at the moment, because if I besiege a town and they get me into a battle with the garrison in tow, that could be dangerous. So let me just see if I can be a little bit more on the ball here than I usually am, and hopefully I'll be able to see when the enemy decides to come close to us. But let's actually just take a quick look at the Khuzait for a real quick second. Okay, so apparently the ruler of the Khuzait is a 20-year-old now, and she is... okay, yeah, she is the last of her clan, which is to be expected, of course. And we have 2 of these guys. Okay, I'm actually kind of surprised that they have stayed alive. I would have expected them to be one of the first to go. And these are just minor factions now. Yes, so we just have 3 clans remaining. And I'm actually going to go back to Tepesh, because 2 of the vassals own Tepesh. Their clan owns Tepesh. So it would be a good idea for me to try and besiege that, because that is directly shall we say, threatening their livelihoods. So that's exactly what we are going to do. And I'm not even going to, I don't think I'm even going to bother really creating a siege tower or anything like that. We're just going to kind of stand here and wait until they appear. Ah, I've just received word that Dinar Castle is actually under siege by none other than Zechen, who is the leader of the Khuzait at the moment. As you can quite clearly tell. Yeah. This is impossible. Yeah, I will never ever be able to defeat this army. Not in a million years. I mean, obviously, if I was just barely able to defeat an army with more troops, I had more troops at that point, I will never ever be able to defeat an army that has that amount of combat strength. So, unfortunately, it seems like that's going to be it for the series. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it because they have just ended up recruiting, well, mercenaries. That's it. They've literally saved their entire faction just by recruiting mercenaries. And I have had a number of minor factions appear and attempt to attack me at Tepesh Castle. I have dealt with them each and every time. One of them had 360 combat strength by himself, which was very, very impressive. But as we know, these minor factions and their units, they're not very strong. So obviously the combat strength, I think, is a bit of a facsimile. I don't think it really... I don't know. I don't think it really adds up to actual pure combat strength in many regards. Okay, that guy is part of a minor faction once again. So yeah, this is obviously going to be a little bit difficult. Do you want to fight me, sir? No, I bet you don't, but I'm going to fight you nevertheless. Yeah, so it seems to me that unless that army is disbanded for some reason or another, I will probably not be able to do the strategy that I outlined earlier. But I mean, who knows? Maybe I can shadow them for a little bit and see if they decide to disband or something along those lines. Maybe that's going to actually make a bit of difference, but other than that, I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. It's just the AI being the AI, you know what I mean? Sometimes they are just very frustrating because they don't do what you want them to do. Obviously, they're trying to survive, and that obviously makes the most sense. But in this case, I would very much appreciate it if they would just run around with the same kinds of units that they normally have, but they don't, obviously. Oh well, never mind. Okay, yeah, so let's actually just take a quick look. Yeah, so as you can see, she has 1,500 units. I mean, maybe it's just inflated a little bit. It could just be inflated because, as I've just said, I have just said something very, very true and pretty obvious. The fact that minor faction units do tend to increase the combat strength of an army by an artificially large amount. I'm not sure whether that is indeed true, but that seems to be the case, because, you know, these guys, wait a minute, let me see if I can actually... These guys right here, right? This guy is the fellow that attacked me at Tepesh Castle, Phaedon. He attempted to attack me. He, as I said, he had 360 or something combat strength. And I thought to myself, wow, this guy's pretty strong. But then when I went into a battle with him, let's just say that they basically flopped harder than pretty much any other vassal that we have done battle with so far, even the weaker ones. So it's very much a case of minor factions being really bad. So I'm thinking, actually, let's just recruit the final units, and I'm going to wait until daytime. And what we're going to do is we're literally going to go in here, okay? We're going to go in here, and I'm going to use strategy this time, because obviously using strategy, I was a bit confused there for a second because it showed that she was the only opponent. But I'm going to use strategy here because that's going to give me the best opportunity to win. And obviously, we've seen in the past, or in this very episode actually, that these battles are pretty close. So I am going to go back into these trees over here. I'm actually going to go all the way back up here. I'm going to play just as lamely as the AI plays some of the time, when they generally tend to stay all the way at the back of a battlefield. Oh, that is such a headache. But thankfully, we don't really need to worry about that, because I can just throw my thrown weapons and hit horses, because that is obviously exactly what I want to do, not... Okay, we're getting some decent damage, but not really against who I want. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're basically just going to stick around here on the top of the hill, and we're going to try and eliminate units that are in this area. That is pretty much my plan for the foreseeable future. And if I can achieve victory here, that will probably mark the end of the Khuzait. That is pretty much it. Like, that is our goal at this point. Because if we do not win, then obviously that's the end of the series nevertheless. But we gave it a good go, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm, you know, I gotta say, I'm really terrible with these things. Super, super terrible with them. Okay, yeah, so now, here's the main problem. The horse archers are going to wear us down. They are just inevitably going to wear us down. There is not much I can do about that, unfortunately. And, yeah, that is, I guess, the reason why it would be good to have more thrown weapons. But obviously, then we're going to have so much less survivability, because we don't have that extra shield on our backs. But yeah, nevertheless, let's do this. Alright, we're gonna try and consolidate our troops a little bit here. I really do not want every single person to run off in different directions, because that's generally not a very good idea. And you can see here that so far we've lost a grand total of 17 units. The enemy has lost a grand total of 250? Really? Okay, I wouldn't have expected that. I mean, I would have expected a decent amount, because obviously we are, you know, we're outnumbered, so we have plentiful targets to attack. But generally, I wouldn't have expected that many. Anyway, let's tell my forces to charge in once again. As I said to you before, I'm going to try to utilize tactics as best I can here, because they just outnumber us so dramatically that I feel as though it is necessary. You know, if I don't do that, it's almost surely going to be a defeat, but this way at least it gives us a bit of a fighting chance if I can actually live. That is also the thing. If I can live, then obviously that makes a pretty big difference in the grand scheme of things, because otherwise auto-delegate is going to kick in, and well, you know how that goes. Did I really just get killed by that random unit? Yeah, I really did. I really did. Ah, that frustrates me. Oh well, never mind. Never mind. Can't really do much about it now. But what we are going to get to do is have a wonderful bird's eye view of what's actually going on here. Oh yes. We are going to frozen finger this thing. Oh yes, indeed. We are going to have a look and see exactly what's going on. Okay, so far, it actually seems to me like the enemy's cavalry is completely in disarray. They don't really seem to know what is going on one way or another, because they don't seem to be doing that normal circular thing that they usually do, where they just run around in circles around the opponent, and they seem to just be kind of mingling around randomly at this point. So I'm going to speed things up, and we're going to see what happens, because for me, I think that's probably a victory for us. I know, it seems kind of weird that I would automatically assume that we're going to have a victory already, but I'm actually thinking that is going to be a victory. It very much depends on how the enemy decides to utilize their cavalry, but from what I can tell, they are being very, very stupid with them at the moment. As I said, they were basically not utilizing their mobility in the least. Now they're actually starting to utilize it, but it might be too late. And my forces might be able to catch them in various situations. And it seems as though, yes, indeed, that is a victory for us. Wow. That has to be, I mean, that's exactly what I was talking about, though. These kinds of battles is what I was really wanting to get at. And obviously, sometimes in Bannerlord, things take a little bit of time to get to the point where they're actually fun and actually entertaining. Because, obviously, especially with an army like this that is very easily capable of eliminating basically any bandit party in the game, if you have a suitable amount of them, of course. Of course, it's going to be iterative and repetitive and whatever. It's basically just going to be very predictable. But you get to this point, and now all of a sudden I'm fighting against these insanely large armies, taking pretty significant casualties, but we're also being able to very, very, very closely win the day, and it could have been completely different. But the enemy decided to do some really weird stuff with their cavalry towards the end there. I don't know whether you noticed that, but they really did. And I believe that is I think that means the Khuzait is completely done. I think they are completely done. I could be wrong about that, but let's actually take a quick look, shall we? I'm gonna execute everyone right away. I don't know. I don't care where they're from. They can be from minor factions or wherever. I'm just going to be executing them all. And generally, to actually put a note on that. If I do a series like this in the future, obviously I'm going to make it so that my forces are not as powerful as they are this time. But in the future, I'm also going to make it so that I don't execute people with purely good traits. So if there are units that have, purely good traits or one good trait, then I will leave them alone. But if they have one bad trait, then I will execute them. So that's basically how that's going to go, at least in the future. And we'll see what happens with that. But obviously, for this particular series, I'm just going to continue with what I set out to do, which is to, of course, eliminate the Khuzait. Alright, so those clans have been destroyed, and now what happens? Well, that's what happens. Yep, there you go. Okay, so the entirety of the Khuzait has been eliminated, but unfortunately, as a result of something unknown to me, I'm not entirely sure why that happened, because they had a non-aggression pact, potentially? I really don't know why that happened, but apparently the Southern Empire has now taken control of the entirety of their territory. And that means that I am out of luck. Yes, very much out of luck. But it was cool, nevertheless, to actually get that done. And we basically speedran the elimination of an entire faction. And I think that was kind of fun. But if you didn't find that fun, then obviously I apologize, and hopefully the next one will be more exciting and more to your liking. But yeah, I think the next one might be a completely unmodded playthrough on the latest version of Bannerlord, because at the moment we're playing on 1.7.0 still, and I believe there is an updated version of 1.7.2, and I don't know what kind of updates they have added or what kinds of changes they've made, but that's going to be very interesting to see nevertheless. So hopefully that's going to be something you'll like. If it's not, then by all means leave me some suggestions down in the comments below, and otherwise I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.